Well, good evening and welcome to About the Valley. And my guest tonight is Tori, how do you say your name?
Buerschaper.
Buerschaper. Okay. I don't want to get it wrong.
No, you did great.
Okay. And she is from the uh, community market
Community Harvest Project.
harvest project. I forget. I'm getting old. I forget.
You have a lot of guests on this show.
Yes. Community Harvest Project, which is located right in North Grafton.
Yes, indeed.
And Harvard, Massachusetts. Harvard,
Yes.
Mass being the fruit growing area of Massachusetts.
Yes, yeah. It's primarily our orchard, where in Grafton we grow primarily vegetables.
Yes. You know, that area up there, Harvard and Leominster, that is a fruit area. Bolton. But you know who came from that area?
Johnny Appleseed.
Yes.
Yes, indeed.
And a lot of people don't realize. He promoted growing apple. He grew the small seedlings
Hmm.
and sold them to the colonists as they were moving westward, especially in Ohio.
It was a fascinating business plan, but he knew that they were going to need fruit to then
Yeah.
produce with there's quite a lead time with when you plant a tree and when you can harvest the fruit, and
Yeah.
so he got ahead of everybody.
Yeah, and had orchards all over the place.
Hmm.
Yeah, and here he came from that area.
Yes, Leominster, I believe.
Yeah, we had a guy down here who the Blackstone River is named after, William Blackstone,
Oh,
and he had an orchard in Rhode Island down near, trying to think of the name of the community now. But right near Massachusetts and Rhode Island, he had a tremendous amount of orchards.
I don't know who that was.
Well, he was the guy who helped found Boston.
Oh, really?
And you're from the area. Well, a lot of people realize that. If you go into Boston City Hall, you'll see a man reaching down to the Puritans and welcome them onto the island, which was Beacon Hill.
Ah,
Back in time, Beacon Hill was actually an island, because Boston was an island,
mm-hmm.
until they filled in the Back Bay. And he was living there, and the Puritans were living in Winthrop, but they didn't have good water. But he had good water where he was. So he invited them to come live where he was. But after they moved in, he got tired of all these people around, because he was kind of, not like a hermit, but kind of like a hermit.
Mm-hmm.
He said, I got to get out of here. So he moved from there down to Rhode Island, down to the Providence area, where Roger Williams had a settlement, and he founded his own place right on the Blackstone River. At the time it was called the Great River.
Wow.
Well, when he moved out, he had left this land behind where he had orchards, and he had grazed cattle and things. And the Puritans said, "What do we do with this now? This guy left, and it's left this land here." Well, I guess what we can do is we'll make it common land,
Oh, so then everybody can access it.
and everybody can use it, and it became the Boston Common.
Wow.
That's
Which
a-
it still is for everybody.
And it still is, yeah. So that originated from William Blackstone,
Wow.
and now you know how the river got its name and everything else.
That I do.
A little bit about yourself. You're from Belmont originally.
I did. I grew up in Belmont, Massachusetts. Went to Boston College, not too far away. And after I graduated, I worked in this area a little bit, but eventually moved to Seattle before then finding a job at AmeriCorps Vista posting at Community Harvest Project in Grafton.
So that's how you got to know Community Harvest Project.
Yes.
So you started as a volunteer.
Technically, yes, yeah. The Vista program
Yeah,
members work at a poverty wage while building
Right.
capacity at a nonprofit.
yeah. And now you're a director.
I am, yes, indeed.
And most of your volunteers the people you have working there started out as volunteers, right?
About half of our staff were volunteer in one way or another, and then got more and more involved, and then became staff members.
Huh. And if people don't know where you're located, you're actually on Brigham Hill Road.
Yep, right at the intersection of North Brigham Hill and Wheeler Road in Grafton, off of 122.
Yes. Right near, well, you actually turn up Brigham Hill near the old high school. It's a missile building now,
Yep. Or you can go
just
all the
before the
way.
police station.
Exactly. Yes. So not too far from the town center.
Ah, that's right, yeah, not too far from the center of town. But you're right near the Hassaminnisco Indian Reservation.
Yes, indeed. Just that's right off. We're right on Brigham Hill Road.
And you need volunteers.
Yes, indeed. Our mission is to engage and educate volunteers to grow fruits and vegetables for hunger relief. So all of our farm work is done with volunteers. We have a small staff of about a dozen people at the height of the season when we have our seasonal positions hired. But we have people from all walks of life. Elementary school students up through high school, college, and graduate students, companies and their employees who come to volunteer, just local people who have an interest in agriculture or getting involved in the community, churches, civic groups or groups like Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts. Our farming practices are made so that anybody with no experience can come onto our farms and participate.
Yes, and you'll train them.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, we host, or we have specially trained volunteers that we call team leaders, and they shadow other team leaders. They're familiar with our farm, with our farming practices, and so they are the ones that primarily lead the daily volunteers when they show up. So if you, in your church or your company decided to come for a volunteer visit, we would have a team leader that would be with you throughout your entire visit, show you exactly on the
You got
phone.
our first call.
Oh, a call already.
Yes, it's amazing. Go ahead, call, you're on.
Hello.
Hello, go ahead.
Hi. I was just wondering if there's any vegetables that are easier for them to grow on the farm with the volunteer support, and if there's any vegetables that are harder to grow.
Good question.
Oh, that's a great question. So we try to grow fruits and vegetables that are good for our farming operation with volunteers as well as through our distribution network. So we try to grow like one variety of a fruit or vegetable that makes it, easier to send people out to then harvest it. But we are trying to also grow fruits and vegetables that grow really well in New England.
Yes.
And then we are really a commercial operation. We are growing and then distributing to the Hunger Relief Network. So our customers are really pantries and their clients. And so we're taking into account a lot of different factors when we're deciding to what to grow, and want to make sure that it's what the people who are receiving our produce want to eat. So
That's important.
yes, so we grow a lot of fruits and vegetables that are appreciated across many different cultures. Tomatoes, onions, cabbage, eggplant, summer squash, different kinds of greens, garlic, which everyone likes to use to make their vegetables taste even
Yes.
better. And are also then trying to work within the farming, like the Massachusetts growing season, and as well as then working with our volunteers.
That's a big factor. The growing
Yes.
season is not as short here compared to just south of us.
Yes, and so we've also been working on our, extending our growing season. So recently installed a high tunnel, so a greenhouse structure, but that is over a farm field so that we can grow directly in the ground, but in a more controlled growing environment. And just had our first harvest of the season this past week, where we harvested about 150 pounds of spinach that were then brought in that same day to the Worcester County Food Bank to distribute to its partner agencies.
I really like spinach.
I would say I'm a fan too.
And if you buy it, you get it locally grown and it's fresh, it's even better.
Yes, you can cook it to take so much of it and cook it down,
Yes.
but it's so nutritious, contains so much iron.
Oh, yeah, it's really an important food for your iron especially. And the older you get, the more you need it.
Yes, critical for your bone strength.
Yes. You still there, caller?
Yeah, I'm here.
You have another question?
One other question. I'm asking for a small friend. Do you have a tractor and doesn't have a name?
We have multiple tractors. We have a large on our Grafton farm. We have 2 John Deere tractors and 1 smaller Massey Ferguson tractor, and then we also have 2 tractors at our Harvard orchard. We have not named those tractors, but I will tell you that I have a toddler at home, and we have a tractor that is named Muffin at my house.
Yeah. You really need tractors. You're talking a lot of acreage.
Yes, about 15 acres total that we're farming in Grafton, and 30 acres of peaches or primarily apples, but then also about an acre of peaches, but that are spread out over a 70-acre property in Harvard.
Yes, you really need a tractor to
Yes.
do.
Yeah, no, we could not do the work that we do without our tractors.
Okay, you all set, caller?
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you for calling.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
Yeah, that was a young caller. So now, if they just need their parents' permission if they're younger, right? And they can volunteer.
So if you are under 16, you do have to come with an adult,
Uh-huh.
but we host volunteers of all ages. And then if you're 16 and older, then you can come on your own to volunteer.
Okay. And that would be a great thing for someone who needs to do a service project.
Absolutely. There also, like I said, is no training that's required, and we also have a drop-in volunteer program. So 9 to noon, Monday through Saturday, starting Monday, May 5th. You can just show up on the farm, and whatever day you come, you will just be folded into whatever farming project we are doing that day. And you don't have to sign up ahead of time. As long as it's Monday through Saturday, 9 through noon, we are hosting volunteers. So you can just show up, and we have a ton of high school students that come repeatedly over the summer to get their service hours, whether they're going for like a presidential award or some other honors.
Yes.
But we also have leadership opportunities.
Well, it goes on your resume for college too.
Yeah, exactly. So, and if you're looking for an opportunity like that, you can become a team leader. So one of our specially trained volunteers that then leads the other volunteers. And so that is an excellent opportunity for leadership and communication, especially for a young person. Because if you're in high school, what other opportunity do you get to,
Right.
direct a group of local business people who have come for their company outing and their volunteer shift, and you were the one that tells them how to harvest the cucumbers or the tomatoes, where to go on the farm, when
Great
to take your
leadership
water
training.
breaks. Yeah, it's excellent. So a great thing to put on your resume. And we do also have summer internships, sustainable farming internships, as well as academic internships in the office, like in fundraising, where we host students.
Now, if someone has a scout troop, it's a great thing. They could work with you with this, bringing the whole scout troop out. Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we've worked with scout groups, who just come and volunteer, but also who have done special projects, like building little wheeled carts for our greenhouse tables, and building a number of other building projects around the farm.
So it's really a great experience, and you get to be outdoors
Mm-hmm.
in the summer,
Yep.
and you get to grow these fresh vegetables.
Yes, and working with such varied people from all throughout our community.
And I know if I was out there, I'd be chomping on the cherry tomatoes.
We will allow one sample while you're there.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because you have to at least get some harvest out of this.
But if you would like to grow your own produce, we do have a plant sale that's coming up.
Yes, that's gonna get into that. Yeah, you have a plant sale coming up in about 2 weeks.
So we have 2 aspects of it. We have an online store that opens a week from Friday on April 25th. And so you can
Go to your website.
Yep, go to our website. It's called Plantapalooza, and you can pick from a huge variety of heirloom tomatoes, hot peppers, other vegetables. We have both hardy and tender succulents for indoors and out. We have hops that you can grow at your house, as well as annual flowers. And you can shop in our online store through May 5th, and then pick up on the farm on May 9th. Or we also have an in-person sale on Saturday, May 10th, where you can come from 9 to noon. And not only will you be able to look at all the plants right there and shop from them, but we will also have our farm staff and master gardeners on site for advice for your garden. And we will be selling local alpaca compost that you can also spread in your garden.
Oh, okay. Compost does a great job.
Yes, it's, the
I put it on my lawn in the past, and it's better than buying the commercial fertilizer.
yes, no, it's got great source of nutrients for the
Yes,
garden.
and it's perfectly natural.
That it is. And this
So
one comes from Angel Hair Alpacas, which is a local alpaca farm.
Oh, okay.
Yep, right in Grafton. They also come and sell. They won't be able to bring the alpacas to the plant sale, but they bring the alpacas to our harvest festival in the fall.
Oh, those are nice animals too.
Yes, they are wonderful.
Yeah.
Everybody loves them.
Yeah, they're very gentle and.
My favorite part is watching them get in and out of the minivan that they take to the farm.
They bring them in a minivan.
They do.
That's really something. But I was going to ask you something. Oh yeah, hops. Yeah, I know they use hops for making beer.
Mhm.
Is that what you do with them, or?
So these hops are for a home brewer that might want to grow
I was
them.
gonna say, yeah.
But they're also just beautiful vines that grow up. They grow really well on trellises to decorate like someone's garden.
Oh, okay. You're not a call. Busy night for calls. Go ahead, call. You're on.
Hi, I just had a question for Tori.
Okay.
Regarding the farm, I'm just wondering if she could share what the most rewarding things are that she finds in working on the farm, and also what some of the challenges and frustrations might be.
Oh, big question. So, I mean, there's the two parts that are most rewarding are the people. Being a place where the community can gather and build in a place, a further and further divided world that we live in. Like, we are a place where people can come and learn together and work together. And then, the goal is our output, is to grow fresh fruits and vegetables. And personally, I, find great pleasure in growing and eating and enjoying fresh fruits and vegetables, and it's something that I think everybody should have access to. So knowing that our collective efforts allow fresh fruits and vegetables to go throughout the community and ensure that people who might not want to or might not be able to buy them then can still
Right.
enjoy them in their homes is by far the most rewarding part of it. And challenges are we are a nonprofit. And especially in these times, funding is volatile. Like, we are not selling the produce from our farms. For the most part, we sell a small portion of it. But we are very heavily reliant on grants and individual
say, that's
donations,
the only way you
corporate
can stay alive.
donations. And so right now, there's a lot of uncertainty about, a lot of the grants from foundations we get are tied to the stock market. Or a individual gift that someone might get if is tied to their own wealth and their own stability. And so ensuring that we have diverse funding sources and can keep growing fruits and vegetables to be able to distribute them.
You take
is what makes
personal
it.
donations?
We do indeed. Yes, happily.
Yes, so if someone wants to donate to you,
Yep. They can head to our website.
it's a tax deductible donation.
Yes, it is. We are a 501c3 nonprofit.
Yes. As long as you're registered at 501c3, they can deduct it off their income tax.
That they can. So we can prepare for, now that we've all just finished our 2024 taxes, prepare for your 2025 ones.
Yes. Or if you took an extension, it's still got
Oh,
a
yes,
chance.
you still have some time.
Yeah. But that's a great, but the need for food in these food banks is very strong. If you,
That,
we got one right here in town in the senior center in the bottom floor. And people that work there will tell you that it's amazing how many people are in need.
yes, demand is higher right now than it was during
Yeah,
COVID.
well, food prices went up. They haven't really come
Yes.
down that much yet.
Yeah, and housing prices have gone up.
And housing prices are off the wall.
But when you're, you have all of these competing needs and you have limited funds,
Yes.
there's, things that you have to pay in one lump sum, like your rent or a utility bill.
Yes.
And what's the thing that you can always kind of like downgrade or do without? That's food. Like you can skip a meal, or maybe you could have had something more healthy, and a little bit more expensive, but you decide for like a cheaper, less nutritious ingredient. Or
Right.
if you're a parent, you decide to let your kids eat instead of you eating yourself.
Well, fresh vegetables are expensive anywhere.
Yes, that they
And
are.
So you're helping out that way, makes it possible for you to get fresh vegetables that probably couldn't afford to buy them in the store.
And then, consuming, we know fresh vegetables are critical for a healthy diet. So people who are unable to consume fresh fruits and vegetables regularly then also have higher instances of diet-related illness, like type 2
And also
diabetes
eating
or heart
processed.
disease.
Processed stuff isn't always good for you.
No, not always.
You still there, caller? You still there, caller? I guess not. Okay. Yes. Yeah, it's, I was gonna say, you got a lot of bills you have to pay too, so you're not making any money, you're not
Okay.
selling your product, but you're still gonna pay utility bills.
What we do, insurance, accounting,
Yeah.
auditing,
Yeah.
plus, we have like a very large supply of free labor with our volunteers, but we do, about 50% of our costs are our staff, who do specialized jobs that volunteers couldn't do, who do our farm planning, and about a quarter of our expenses are our direct farming costs. So the soil that we use when we're seeding trays in the greenhouse, we spend about $6,000 a year on buying seeds.
Wow.
That then are what we start the hundreds of thousands of plants that we grow on the farm
Yes.
with. We need to buy fertilizer. We need to buy pest management supplies. We need to buy irrigation supplies. So we have a significant number of direct costs related to our farming as well.
Yeah. Now, you take donations from businesses as well.
Yes, we will happily take donations from whoever would like to give them to us. But yes, we work with a lot of corporations, either who have like corporate grants that they can
Yes.
donate, or sponsorships for our events. We work with individuals, someone who will give $1 up to somebody who may have, been lucky enough to have bought Apple stock at some point, and gives us gifts of stock. So yeah, we have, and we also get grants from foundations as well.
But it's gotta be a real trying situation every year to make that budget.
Yes, we've been working pretty hard, especially since COVID, to further diversify our funding sources. So we do, a few years ago, we closed on an agricultural preservation restriction on our Harvard property. And we're able to invest the proceeds of that, which we are now taking an annual draw of to support our operating costs.
Very good idea.
Yes, so that's, definitely not funding our whole budget, but is, about a little bit less than 10% of our budget comes from that at this point. We also have a number of our earned income opportunities. So we sell merchandise. We sell our plants at our plant sale. We have our harvest festival in the fall. And so we try to utilize a bunch of different streams so that in, a situation like we're in now where the economy is much more volatile and our normal funding sources are not coming in at the rate that they have in the past, that we are not heavily reliant on one source for our funding.
Now, your merchandise, that's available online?
It is available online, or if you come and show up at our farms, we've got t-shirts, hats,
Oh,
sweatshirts,
is it still
mugs.
open on a regular basis?
When we're hosting volunteers.
I was gonna say,
Yes.
yeah.
But yes, we do sell merchandise on our website. You can put it in order and then come pick it up at one of our farms.
Oh, okay. So it's a good, and get a chance to see the farm.
Yes, absolutely. You could come for your volunteer shift,
Yeah.
just drop in, and then walk away with a T-shirt to let other people know where and when they can volunteer.
Right, exactly. Now, we're talking before a radio interview, you actually hired bees.
Yes, we.
'Cause that's an important factor in farming.
It's critical that the plants are pollinated.
Yes.
So there are a couple of hives that are kept not by our staff but by other beekeepers. But then the hives are at our Grafton farm. But our Harvard orchard is about 30 acres and is a huge, huge. We have about 3,500 trees there total. And they need to be pollinated in a very short period of time.
That's an
so
amazing thing to watch.
yes.
You hear them buzzing around those fruit trees, and they're landing on all the flowers, and just going from one to the other. And it's just amazing what those bees do.
They make our food system possible. Like we would not
Yeah.
eat without bees. So yes, we do hire a company that brings bees out to our Harvard orchard. So that will be around the time of apple bloom. So the second or first or second week of May out there.
You know, honeybees are not were not indigenous to New England or to America. They had bees. We had bumblebees,
Mm-hmm.
but they were brought in by Europeans. But now they're a very important factor.
Yes, they're critical.
But you know, back before the colonists, there wasn't a lot of gardens. They grew corn, but primarily they didn't grow a lot of the vegetables we have now.
Yeah, much more like hunting and gathering. So
Right.
foraging and
Yes.
so yeah.
So there was no need for honeybees. But now they're a very important factor.
Yes, critical.
And one time there was a point where they were in trouble too.
Yes, they are still in trouble, and I will forget the exact name of, but some components of different
Yeah, some
pesticides
kind
that
of
are
virus
used.
or something, a small,
Yes,
yeah, it's a small bug that they get. Because they're small themselves.
yes. That
But
they are.
we would be in serious trouble without them, because you wouldn't have the pollination.
Yes, and now that would, it's critical for our food supply.
Yes. And especially the fruit.
Hmm. Yes, yeah.
But
Yes.
now, you got your spinach growing in your greenhouse. What's going to be your first plantings?
Usually our frost hardy crops are the first things that go in the ground.
Yeah, 'cause
So
we
like
can get a frost into late
yes,
May.
that we can. So we start with greens like kale or broccoli and cabbage. Are much more frost hardy. So those will be the first things that we start putting in the ground in the next few weeks. Whereas we wait until much later in May for the eggplant, tomatoes, summer squash, peppers. None of those go out until we're 100% clear that there's not going to be a frost.
Right, yeah, because God forbid you get them in the ground.
Yes, no, we do not want to be in that situation.
Right.
But we also do succession planting for a lot of our crops to both like even out our distribution. Like we don't want to plant, an entire field of cabbage all at once and then have, tens of thousands of pounds of cabbage that we're harvesting at one time and flood the food bank with cabbage.
Because you don't want to have an overabundance of anything,
Yes.
and then you're going to throw it away.
Exactly, which is never what we want. So we, stagger when we plant the seeds for our cabbage, and then when we plant it in the field. So then we have crops that are ready, the same crop ready multiple different times at different points in the season, and then that helps with the diversity of our vegetable distribution, so that we can be, not, like I said, flooding the food bank with all cabbage, but have some cabbage, but then also peppers and tomatoes and garlic and,
Getting me hungry.
yes. But no one, we want, like, people who are receiving our produce to want to eat it. And if you're only being presented with cabbage or whatever other vegetable,
Right.
you're not as excited about eating it over and over again. So
Right, exactly. Now, you do everything from seeds.
For the most part, yes. We do have some perennial crops, so blueberries at our Grafton farm,
Right.
and then the peaches and apples, but everything else we are growing from seed. Some of it starting in our greenhouse, and some things we are direct seeding in the ground, like cucumbers and summer squash and winter squash.
And you purchase all the seeds, you don't do any, you don't save any fruit for seed.
For the most part, we are not saving seeds, and that is for consistency of the product, because there's
Right.
always the chance for cross-pollination, and we grow at such volume that we would be spending a lot of our time saving seeds.
Yes.
An exception to that is garlic. So we purchased seed garlic once, and now every year as part of our garlic harvest, we save some of the garlic for the next year's garlic
Oh.
planting.
It's amazing what you're doing there. And it's quite, well, the pictures of
Yeah,
your
right here,
vine.
that's our farm. Yes, in Grafton.
It looks like you got, is that tomatoes you got staked out?
I do believe those are tomato plants. That looks very early in the season,
Yes.
like June, because they're staked but not twined yet. So they will get usually two like stringings of twine to keep them from flopping over into the rows.
Yes, and I mean, and that's a good sized vine, which you built, right?
So it was built by our founders, Ken Crater and Peg Ferraro. So Community Harvest Project started as a nonprofit in Hopkinton that wasn't a nonprofit at all when it began. It was a couple who noticed that their neighbors were unable to buy fruits and vegetables. Their names were Bill and Rose Abbott, and so they began growing fruits and vegetables and giving them away to their neighbors, and as they were aging decided to start bringing volunteers onto the property to help them farm. And at that,
really expand it.
yes, so they are really who came up or started the concept of volunteer farming for hunger relief. And when they passed away in the 90s, what was then Food for the Needy, their organization, the land went into their family trust. And so Ken and Peg wanted to bring the vision for the organization, or keep the vision alive, and moved the farm, or purchased the farm in Grafton and built the barn. So the barn was operated as a separate entity, the Brigham Hill Community Barn, that's been a community space for the last 20 years. And then Community Harvest Project and the Grafton Land Trust have operated out of the barn. And so we actually purchased, Community Harvest Project purchased the farm and barn in December of 2023. So we do now own it.
Oh, wow, not too long ago.
Not too long ago. So we own our Grafton farm and our Harvard orchard.
Now, did you have to mortgage it to be able to purchase it, or?
We were very lucky and had
You got a grant?
we had a number of board members that fundraised on our behalf. And so we applied for a number of grants and had a number of individuals
So you now
that
own it
made
outright,
that we own it outright.
which is
Yes.
important because that can make a difference on.
It's a huge difference.
You don't have to worry about making a mortgage payment.
No, we just have to worry about the maintenance, the facility upkeep,
Right.
and keeping up with all of our inspections. But yes,
You're also tax exempt,
we are. Yes, as
which
a
is only
nonprofit.
fair because you're not a profit-making
No,
organization.
we are not. So, yeah, no, we are very lucky to have been able to purchase it outright with the
Yeah.
support of many community members.
Yeah, you have a number of people on your board.
Yes, we have 11 board members now. Our board president is Kristen Bafaro, who is actually a former executive director of Community Harvest Project, and she hired me.
Oh.
And we have another new board member, Jody Kuhlman, who is also a former executive director of Community Harvest Project.
And Jeannie Hebert,
And Jeannie
who is
Hebert,
well known
yes.
around
Very,
here.
very well known, and very lucky to have her. She is the woman who's everywhere at all times
I
and knows
know.
everybody.
And she knows how to do fundraising.
Yes, she does. I have learned a lot from Jeannie.
Yes.
And yeah, so we're very, very lucky to have so much great board support and have a number of people who have started as volunteers or interns and then become board members. So
How are you looking on volunteers? Is that in the line them up now, or?
We are indeed. So we've launched our volunteer scheduling for groups last month. So that means if you want to come with a large group of people, like more than 5, like
Yeah.
your company or a class of kids from school or a church or a community group, you can put in a request on our website. And say, this is how many people I want to bring, and this is when I would like to come. And we do schedule out large groups based on our farm needs. But if you are an individual or just, a family and you want to come, you can just drop in. So we have open drop-in volunteer hours 9 to noon, Monday through Saturday, May through September. So our first day this year is May 5th.
Well, you come anytime between 9 and noon, but you'll be there for the day.
You'll be there until noon. So
Until noon?
Yep.
Oh, okay. So,
Ideally, you come at 9 and stay for 3
Yeah,
hours. But if you
right.
can't make it right at 9, we'll
Right.
still fold you into what we're doing.
right, so then you go home for lunch.
Yes, then you go home, take a nap, tend to your own garden, whatever
Yes.
you need to do after that.
Oh, so you get most of your work done within that period, 9 to noon.
Yes, we do try to work like before it gets to the heat of the day.
Yes.
So we try to work within the safest bracket of the day for people being outside, especially in the heat of summer.
Yeah.
And then that also gives our farm staff time to, once the crops are harvested, to get everything inside, boxed in the coolers before the end of the workday.
Yeah, you gotta set the product up for transportation. You
Exactly.
can't just throw it loose in the back seat of the truck.
And we're also, distributing to a lot of different kinds of organizations. Like there's, really large aggregators and distributors of food, like the food bank, that we can send a single pallet of one kind of vegetable to,
Yeah.
but then they're distributing it to over 100 smaller agencies.
Yeah.
Whereas if we're working with a smaller local organization like the Grafton Food Bank, they distribute to about 150 people.
Right, so you
And
send
so
a
we
smaller
wouldn't,
trash.
yeah, we would send, a mixed pallet to
Right.
them, so a smaller amount and a higher variety. And then there are a few other partnerships where we send like a CSA style vegetable share, where we will bag produce intended for an individual. So like one of everything that we have harvested that day.
Oh, wow.
So then, like, we do a distribution through the Family Health Center in Worcester that has a very high-need, low-income patient population, where we send these bags of produce, so then each patient that they're distributing to can just take the one bag and bring it home. And it has the whole variety of what we're growing that week.
Oh, and that probably lasts them all week.
That is the hope.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, what you're doing is really great work.
Thank you.
Because really, we think that everybody's well set, but they're not. And like you said earlier, rents are so high, mortgages are high.
Mm-hmm.
People going from paycheck to paycheck in many cases, in probably 90% of the cases.
Yeah.
And so you have a little bleep in there where you don't have the same paycheck. What do you do?
Exactly. And a lot of times, we have all these fixed expenses, or, there might be something about our situation that changes, like our income, like you might have to, for some reason or another, go down from full-time to part-time work, but that doesn't mean that you can afford to move.
Right.
And so people are experiencing hunger everywhere, not just in a place where there's
Well, husband and wife
high-profile need.
could be working and one of them gets sick.
Exactly. Or, you could have a health emergency that then you
Yes.
get very high hospital bills afterwards, and all
Right.
your money has to go to that, and then there's nothing left for food. And so, but in those kinds of situations, you can't necessarily just move someplace cheaper or sell your car. So there's a lot of fixed expenses that you're stuck with. And those are often the times that people turn to a food pantry or a soup
Yes.
kitchen or some other kind of feeding program. And the hope is that they won't need to use it for an extended period of time.
Right.
But it's there for them in those emergency situations when they do need it.
Now, you have equipment to harvest, or is it all by hand?
It is our harvest our harvesting does happen all by hand. We do have some planting equipment that we utilized during COVID when we could not host as many people on the farm.
Oh, okay.
But all of our harvesting does happen by hand. We have a lot of different like guides that we use to show people, you know, what size of
Yeah.
the vegetable or fruit should be, what color it should be that indicates ripeness. And then we have our team leaders that are trained and with the people when they're harvesting. And we have, you know, the special, like whatever specific basket they should be harvesting into, how much they should be putting in it, to ensure that we're not damaging the produce. You know, we don't want to like have, you know, many pounds of tomatoes all in one bucket and then the tomatoes on the top crush all the tomatoes on the
Right.
bottom.
Right. Yeah, the thing is, though, doing it by hand, you're really hand picking each particular fruit, so you know you're getting good quality. When you do it by
Absolutely.
machine, it's whatever's on the vine.
That's true. Yeah, there's much more room for waste in that kind of situation.
Yeah.
And it allows us to grow some crops. You know, we have an unusual amount of like people working on our farm. And so it allows us to grow some crops that other farms may not have the labor to grow, like green beans,
Yes.
where yeah, it takes, you have to be down on the ground sorting through which are the longest, you know, ripe beans, and it's very difficult to do it by machine.
Yeah, it's all it's a hand labor job.
Mm-hmm.
But here again, you come in at 9 o'clock and you're out by 12, and you get enough volunteers, you can get it done.
We can, and last year we hosted about 6,600 people between our two properties.
Wow.
So that's about 5,500 in Grafton and the remaining at our Harvard orchard.
You
And
find most of them come back every year?
we have, I would say our team leaders are our regular repeat volunteers. And we have a lot of repeat groups, like people from the same company or the same
Yeah.
church, but not always the same individuals that come back with that company or with that church.
It can be a lot of fun working together like that.
It really is. I find it very meditative to like be outside, like just enjoying being in the great outdoors, doing a repetitive activity. It's a great time for
But you
conversation.
enjoy camaraderie, the camaraderie between everybody there, and just having a good time.
Yeah, we're all working towards a common purpose. And I meet so many interesting people because people are coming from all over the state, sometimes outside of the state, from different backgrounds. And I learn, you know, great places to get ice cream in Hudson, or I learn fun places to go on vacation, or, you know, people have amazing stories, like especially some of our regular volunteers about, you know, the many careers that they've had before they retired or were able to spend more time on the farm, or trips that they go on and tell us about. So it's just, you know,
How do
we
you
have a
get the
great
word out
time.
to all these places?
I will say, we, for a lot of groups, you know, we pride ourselves on an excellent volunteer experience, and being able to schedule volunteers ahead of time, really ensuring that when people come to our farm that we have jobs for everybody, which is not the volunteer experience that I've always had elsewhere. And so by providing a top-notch experience, and we are a certified service enterprise, so in the top 10% of nonprofits that utilize volunteers, we build some of our own demand. So we do some recruiting at local community events like the Blackstone Valley Business Expo that recently happened.
Yes.
We had a staff member and a board member at. But I would say the primary recruitment that we need to do is for our team leaders, and for volunteers during our heaviest points in the season, like in July. We don't have as much difficulty getting volunteer groups, especially, you know, we have a lot of school groups that come like now through the end of the school year or in September. So we are able to work with a lot of schools and a lot of local companies that come back year after year.
It's a great project for a school group because it teaches the kids this stuff doesn't grow at the supermarket.
No, it does not. And there's so much that goes into it. And to be
Yes.
honest, I've had adults. Like I worked with a volunteer who was an adult who asked me if we were growing grass in one of our rows. And he was pointing to newly planted leeks, that when a leek is planted, it's like one
Yeah, it looks
single
like- yeah, it looks
strand,
like
and
a
it
s-
looks
it
like
looks like
grass. And
grass,
so
yes.
I got to teach that engineer like what a leek looks like before it gets to the grocery store. And so people of all ages learn a lot from our farms about how food grows, and how much work goes into growing it, which I think also helps them appreciate it when it gets onto their plate.
Yes, yes, like I say, they realize this doesn't grow in a supermarket or it
Yeah.
comes from a factory. It comes from a farm.
Absolutely. And
And-
it helps people, I think, understand how much, like, if they see all that is harvested from our plants, like, and then sort it, you see how many imperfect vegetables come. So
Yes.
you also see how much you have to grow to then be able to have the perfect output that you see in the grocery store. Like, that is, only a percentage of the total, like, produce that is grown.
Yes, and unfortunately, in New England, we're losing a lot of our farms.
Yes, it
It's
is.
becoming housing development.
Yes, it's also critical that people have places to live, but we
Yes.
do need to balance
Right.
preserving our local agriculture, while also ensuring that people have affordable housing and then do not need hunger relief services because of
But
that.
part of it is the fact that farming is very costly, and the profits aren't as good as it can possibly be. You're fortunate, you're doing it on a volunteer basis,
Yes,
so, but still, it's expensive no matter how you look at it.
yes, absolutely. And a lot of the way government support is built right now is to support, very large industrial farms,
Right.
not small family farms or nonprofits.
Now, all your vegetables are organically, you're not organically certified, but you do grow them organically.
Are in our Grafton farm, yes, we are
Yeah,
using organic products and practices.
yeah, your fertilizer is compost.
No, we do, but there are non-compost, like, organic fertilizers that you can buy.
Yeah.
Because we, honestly, like, the scale of our farm, we would need a truly massive amount of compost to use that as our exclusive fertilizer.
And your pest control, you don't use anything that's hazardous to humans.
Well, any pest control is hazardous in some concentration.
Right,
But
but
we
you
are
do-
using ones that break down more quickly
Right,
once they are applied.
yeah, I mean, you gotta do something, because
Yes,
if you don't, you'll have a big problem, especially with insects.
yes. But there are also other kinds of pests like deer, where
Yes,
we
you have to,
can,
yeah, you gotta deer proof, but
yes,
you
so we
do
can
that with a fence.
use deer fencing. And another thing that we put on the farm is we use Irish Spring soap,
Oh.
which is, we drill holes in and string it on posts that we put around the farm. And the lore is that it smells like people. And so if a
Oh.
deer smells that, they are less likely to spend their time there.
That's pretty
so,
good, that's a good idea.
yeah, we use a variety of methods. We also, like at our Harvard Orchard, have used, like sometimes, like especially during a drought year, birds will try to peck into some like really water-rich crops like tomatoes or peaches. So using reflectors that essentially, like are very shiny, helps keep birds from trying to attack our crops.
Oh, you have scarecrows?
We have one scarecrow at our Grafton farm, that's more for fun than for actual
okay.
scaring.
More for display.
Yes, yeah. Or we've also utilized, like special like sonar or noise deterrents, for
Yes.
some birds as well.
Yeah, you can actually buy high-pitched sonar, and
Yes.
humans don't hear it,
Hmm.
but the birds do.
Exactly. And doing it at different frequencies to,
Yeah, because the crows
Ideally.
can be a big problem with crops.
yes, especially during drought years. We've had crows that just, gouge huge holes in the sides of tomatoes because they're looking for a water source.
Yes,
And where the tomatoes, have done the work to put their roots deep into the ground and bring all the water to the
Yeah.
surface and done all the work for the crows. So,
yeah, unfortunately, I mean, I like birds, but they can be a nightmare. And crows, if they get together, you can have a ton of them come down and converge.
Yes, yeah. Luckily, we don't have as many problems. I would say they're not one of our biggest pests.
Right.
But yeah, we have more problems with deer and groundhogs or certain insects.
Oh, hunters hear about that, they'll be up your way.
There is hunting ground available. We do have deer fencing around our whole Harvard orchard. So, in the off chance that a deer makes its way inside, usually the coyotes are able to take care of the problem for us.
Yeah, they're really something else lately too.
Yes.
And there was a point, I remember as a kid, there weren't any coyotes around.
Yeah, now they've come back, which is great.
Yeah.
Great for the food chain to have the
Yes.
apex predators.
Yeah, they do, they keep the food chain in order.
Yes.
Like we got the turkeys now. I don't remember turkeys as a kid. The only turkeys we had were domestic.
Wow.
But they brought them back. They actually came from North Carolina. The state brought them up here and got them going, and they just multiplied. And God, you feed flocks of turkeys everywhere.
Wow. Yeah, we see them pretty regularly on the
They're
farm.
even getting into the city now.
I do. I live in Worcester, and I do occasionally see a turkey on my way to work, more in the city.
Yeah, isn't that amazing?
Mm-hmm.
And the coyotes are in the city too because they're after the turkeys. So it's just, but it's good though to have some of the wildlife come back.
Yes, indeed. Just have to manage it just so we can continue to grow our crops and live in harmony.
Yeah, here in the valley, we got a number of eagles.
Oh wow, that's incredible.
Yeah,
Yeah, we have one that is out at our orchard.
yeah. They do a great job handling the small pests.
Mm-hmm. Yes, the voles and the mice.
Yes. Yes, nature balances itself well. And we can screw it up.
Yeah, we can. So,
But-
but we do, we don't try to maximize output every year just because, we know the need is there, but we also know that taxing the land to the maximum means that we won't be able to grow as much next year.
And you also do rotation.
We do crop rotation, and we leave some fields fallow every year. So don't grow a specific crop on them, but do regenerative cover cropping to try to restore nutrients back into the soil
Yes.
for the next growing year.
Yeah, nature has a great way of keeping itself going, but we can screw it up.
That we can.
And we did that prior to the Depression. That's when we had the Dust Bowl because they just
Yeah, they just
overplanted and just took all the nutrients out of the soil.
yes, assumed that the land would be able to just keep giving and giving in the same
Right.
way forever. But yeah, we take sustainability very seriously and want to ensure that we are stewarding the land well and that our farmland can continue to be productive.
Yes.
Ideally, we would not have to grow fruits and vegetables for hunger relief forever, but that the land could be used for growing for as long as possible.
Right. No, it's great. Like I said, we've lost a lot of the farm. When I was a kid, I remember so many farm stands. And now you don't see that many. We have a great one here in town in the Popma family.
Foppa's is incredible. It's a wonderful place.
Yes. But, they do it because they love it.
Mhm.
You don't see it as much anymore because it's very labor intensive.
Yes, and we were talking earlier about Norse Farm in Westboro where they have the pick your own.
Yes.
Because then the people are the labor.
Yes. And, that is a good concept though.
Yeah.
Just grow the stuff and let the people pick their own. A lot of orchards do that.
Yeah.
Because I remember when I was a teenager, I worked in an orchard in September,
Hmm.
and it was a way of making extra money. But you don't see it anymore. You have to bring migrant workers in.
Yeah, that's how, before we operated the orchard that we operate in Harvard, that's how it was harvested. So,
And now do you do pick your own, or you just bring volunteers in?
we just do with our volunteers, and we also partner with another organization called the Boston Area Gleaners, who send volunteers out to farms, both for and not for profit. Oftentimes, gleaning the food that like a farmer is growing in excess to be able to meet the quotas that they need to meet,
Right.
but then may have excess food that they don't have the capacity to harvest themselves.
You gotta know a little bit about, when it comes to harvesting apples, you gotta know what you're doing. Get up in those trees, it can be pretty dangerous.
We do not use ladders with our volunteers, so all the picking takes place on the ground.
Oh, you pick up the drops.
No, like you can just like essentially we only harvest what you can reach by
Oh, okay,
like
so
by
you,
standing, and we also have a like we've removed a section of trees and replanted them with high density plantings of trees where the trees are trellised, and if you're a little of I'm 5'4", but if you are 6 feet tall, you can reach the top of the tree without any ladder.
oh, wow.
So that makes it that the trees are planted much more densely, and you can get a lot more fruit off of trees planted in a much smaller footprint.
Oh, and do you keep them cropped on top so they don't grow high?
They are, and they like the branches are along trellises to
Right.
help like carry the weight of the fruit on them.
Oh, that's a good idea.
But yeah,
When I was young, when I did apple picking, you had to go up a ladder.
we do. Most of the trees that we have are at this point for the majority of what we can harvest. You can harvest from the ground.
Oh,
So yeah,
oh, Tori, I wanna thank you for coming in.
my pleasure.
And,
Thank you so much for having me.
If anyone wants to volunteer, how would they get a hold of you?
Oh, you can go to our website, community-harvest.org, and if you go to Get Involved, you can learn more about showing up and volunteering. You can come 9 to noon Monday through Saturday, starting May 5th through the end of September. And then our plant sale
Yeah, I was gonna
starts
say, let's talk about the plant
our
sale.
online plant sale starts on Friday, April 25th. We're selling online through Monday, May 5th. Pick up on the farm on May 9th at either Grafton or Harvard. And then we also have in-person plant sale on Saturday, May 10th from 9 a.m. to noon.
And that's perennials as well as fruits.
Some perennials, we have succulents and hops, and some berry plants, which are perennials. But for the most part, we have, a huge variety of vegetables, heirloom tomatoes, hot peppers, annual flowers, and herbs.
Pick up your tomatoes, but keep the tomato plants under cover.
Not yet. Don't plant them
Don't plant
until
them in the garden yet.
mid to late May. But
Yes.
the plant sale is the day before Mother's Day, so
Oh.
you can buy all the plants that a mom might like to plant in her garden,
Yes.
and bring them over the next day and have a great activity together.
Oh, great. Okay, we gotta wrap it up. Thank you for coming in. We'll have to have you back, maybe in the fall, when we talk about the fruit harvesting.
That would be great. I would love it.
All right,
Thank you so much.
and we'll see you next week on About the Valley.